Today we're going to be tackling a real question, the real issues in life. Where is my 99-cent cheeseburger? It's gone, and it's not coming back, and it still plagues me every day I wake up. So we're going to take a look at a video. Hopefully that goes over it and, maybe learn something.
There's been a lot of talk online and in the news about how much fast food prices have gone up over the recent
Messed up,
years.
man.
Once home to the dollar menu, prices at the Golden Arches leaving a bad taste in the mouth of consumers who just want value.
Some restaurants are continuing with price hikes.
Chipotle keeps raising prices. Gym rats and millennials are still buying burritos. Yeah.
While others are getting desperate with attempts to offer more deals in hopes of increasing traffic.
Restaurants don't cut prices for fun. Did consumers essentially force your hand by being fed up?
Customers are telling us that they're really stretched.
Now, we all know inflation has been rampant.
Yeah, it's obvious that, the inflation is so bad right now. Things have gone up in price so much. You go to the grocery store and it costs twice as much for some of the items, or close to 50% markup of what it used to be. And I mean, there used to be the double stack at McDonald's that you'd get like $3 and you get this double stack cheeseburger and you'd be full off that. Now it's just, there's nothing there. Bare minimum, even with their deals that they bring in with the like $5 deals and like all these fast food companies trying to be competitive, trying to win over the money of people to essentially buy from them. It's just not working because the cost of everything is so bad right now.
Since the beginning of
If you're going to fast food, honestly, nowadays, you might as well go to Denny's or go to like a actual restaurant because you're roughly going to be spending
2020 when the pandemic happened.
Grocery prices, in some cases, are falling.
Yep.
Fast food prices are rising, and these CEOs, they know it. They're hearing these complaints.
But what's really going on here? I mean,
Yes.
are fast food companies trying to pull a fast one on us, price gouging under the cover of inflation?
Fast food places
not
in
so
general, y'all better watch your goddamn ass.
Is this just plain old corporate greed like many have claimed?
Who told y'all was that good to be charging that much for y'all food?
Or is there more to
So
the story?
true.
Fast food used to mean inexpensive.
Somebody's spitting.
Going viral, the Big Mac meal priced at $18 at a Connecticut rest stop.
Oh my God, $18 for a Big Mac? It is not that good. What does that? Gold flakes on it, dude? What the? Oh, we're a minute. What the fuck, dude? Are you kidding me? $18, dude. That's like a whole day's worth of meals from the grocery store you can get for yourself. That's insane.
Well, in this video, I'm going to try
That
to get
is
to the bottom of it.
outrageous.
Wikipedia defines price gouging as a pejorative term used to refer to the practice of increasing the prices of goods, services, or commodities
A couple days, I feel like, if you're if you're super cheap.
level much higher than is considered reasonable or fair by some. This commonly applies to the price increases of basic necessities after natural disasters. Usually this event occurs after a demand or supply shock, like, say, a global pandemic. Harvard Business School says there's no rule for what qualifies as price gouging, but it's not an uncommon occurrence. For example, EpiPen costs and Uber price surges are both examples of price increases that have been considered unfair. But what's the difference between
Yeah, I think they prey on convenience for a lot of these things sometimes. I really do. But, it's the cost of business, and they want to make more money if they can get away with it. As long as we let them get away with it, they'll keep getting away with it. And we'll be where we're at. There is a graphics card company right now that is pretty outrageously priced. NVIDIA with their top line cards raised another $400. Now, I will say they tried at least being a little bit more competitive with their mid-range stuff, but it's still expensive for any of like the semi-even top ones, like the 5080, $1,000. Even if you go one step down from the highest, and if you go one step down from that, it's still pretty expensive. I mean, they used to be so much cheaper, so these huge increases definitely do stand out. And if they're the if they are the only ones in town, they can kind of do that. Not the same with fast food exactly, but if people are willing to keep paying for certain things and won't do it, and will support it, they're going to keep doing it. Even with them, and that's probably why they're doing all the $5 meals.
price
I don't know if
gouging
they're price gouging. I don't know. It's
and
kind of a hard
inflation?
sell.
While price gouging is often the result of a business decision, inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services over time and is directly impacted by the market. And while 40 states across the country have laws in place to ban price gouging, there is currently no federal price gouging prohibition. And this makes it a difficult thing to enforce because so many supply chains are nationwide. And as a result, states face heightened challenges when trying to protect consumers from price gouging. So in my opinion, price gouging is a rather nebulous concept. It often lacks clear-cut depictions, and it's not only a practical question, but also a moral one. However, with this fast food dilemma, it's not just about high prices here. It's also about prices that seem disconnected from costs and the
I do think that, and I could be completely speaking out of turn. For the most part, things are generally competitive where you don't see this. However, there are instances, like I said, with like certain graphics cards who are pretty much the industry standard for a lot of people and are the only go-to for people. I shouldn't say the go-to for a lot of people because they have the drivers ready and all this. So like they're able just to kind of bully their way in. So like, should there be something for those guys? I think competition, I mean, for the most part will come in and, with AMD putting out their cards, a lot of people aren't really buying into there are people who don't buy into the RTX, like fancy lighting just and paying an extra, $500 just to get that. So, I do think the market does kind of correct it to some degree. There are obviously, there are plenty of instances where it do. I'm not super politically savvy into the economic sides of that, but I don't know if you should put a cap on what companies should be able to charge
products themselves. So whether specific fast food companies have engaged in price gouging is
unless they're like $1 million for cheeseburgers, which is not going to happen.
For debate. What certainly isn't is how much prices have increased over the years. And the real question then becomes, is it justified? Finance Buzz released a staggering report on fast food prices over the last decade, and it showed some very interesting stats, claiming McDonald's is king when it comes to price hikes over the years, citing a 100% increase to their prices from 2014.
Okay, this is very sus. What the fuck? 100% compared to the competitors. Don't get me wrong, McDonald's has always been very cheap, though. And they used to have the best deals, and I would argue still have some of the best deals. Yeah, with today's inflation, they have some of the best deals still. But yeah, I would argue that they're still one of the better ones, and maybe that's why they could get away with it. So maybe they are inflating it. This does make it look very suspect. 100%.
Now, to understand how we got here, let's just to their prices from 2014 to 2024. Now, to understand how we got here, let's just rewind for a second. Fast food in its early days was built on two core promises: speed and affordability. Now, with its initial success, it really started to become a symbol of American
Golden
culture.
Arches,
what
baby.
The food may have lacked in quality, it ultimately made up with cheaper prices and the convenience of getting it quickly. However, today, the same can't be said. It's not breaking news, but fast food is rarely fast anymore. And it's
I'm not so sure about that. I could do the order on my app now, for the McDonald's app. For people, and they have so many other services, and you could literally just walk in and pick it up and walk out. So, I mean, you could even order before you get there or a little bit before you even go in. So I'm not so sure about that. I don't really know if I believe that they're not as fast. They are pretty fast whenever I order, but I don't know about a big city, I should say. I don't know about like a really big city, maybe a different story.
Becoming pretty expensive for what the quality is. Now, over the last 2 decades, rising costs have hit the industry hard. Real estate prices, minimum wage increases, and supply chain inefficiencies started driving up costs. Add to that the increase in costs of beef, chicken, potatoes, along with paper products, and suddenly the simple cheap burger wasn't so cheap to make anymore. These changes laid the groundwork for the price hikes that we're seeing today, but they only tell part of the story. What's happening now feels different, like something has fundamentally shifted.
Oh, I'm sorry, could you put her on, please?
Dude, this is a Wendy's restaurant.
Damn it, Kevin. Okay.
But I have to keep it real. It's not just the rise in costs that are part of doing business. It's also factors like increases to advertising spend, ballooning executive compensation packages, along with significant investments into technology, like mobile apps.
I know, like, employment has got to be a really big factor as well for some of these things. Because, like, with minimum wage increases and hiring all these really big, large, or all these positions that used to be pretty expensive back in the day have only gone up in worth. Like, that's why gaming is such a expensive endeavor. From what I understand, is that a lot of it is just the cost of like employing a huge amount of people and the and all the essentially the specialization that goes into creating games. But yeah, the average employee for a pretty high end gaming company is going to be pretty expensive for like good quality workers.
For these companies. Oh, and of course, stock buybacks, returning billions of dollars to shareholders.
That's what I've been told, though. I don't have a spreadsheet. Okay, gotta qualify.
But don't just take my word for it. Let's look at some of the numbers. According to the Federal Reserve's economic data, food away from home, which is the category that includes fast food, this rose roughly 28.5% over the last 5 years. But general overall inflation rose only 24%. Now, at a first glance, these price hikes might seem like a logical reaction to the rising costs of inflation. But let's dig a bit deeper. While the cost of doing business has increased, profit margins at many major chains have held steady or even grown. Take McDonald's, for instance. Despite facing higher expenses, their operating margins climbed to nearly 46% in 2023, up from around 41% in 2019. Now, that's not just covering costs, that's thriving. And if you don't think operating margin is the best indicator to decide this, let's look at their net profit margin.
The problem is, I don't know, like I said, the economic sides of this is like, I can't know if he is 100% telling me or has a 100% intellect. I don't know if what he's saying is 100% correct. However, you know, it is a. However, we're living in a time where fast food is at a high price that I think that there may be cause for inflation.
It's gone up from 28% right before the pandemic hit, all the way up to over 33% in 2024. Now, this has led McDonald's to begin to take some drastic measures to try to convince customers they not only aren't being greedy, but also that they still can provide value with their menu. But more on that in a moment. This pattern isn't unique to McDonald's, though. Chipotle has reported record revenues fueled by menu price increases of nearly 15% over the last 2 years. In fact, during the making of this video, they just announced another 2% price increase to their menu, which brings the total number of price hikes to 7 times since 2021. And Chipotle technically isn't fast food and is more in the...
Chipotle is so expensive, guys. It is insane. I went in there for one meal and I was like, I am not going back here. It's absolutely outrageous, the prices there.
Category of fast casual dining.
And it's not that good. Am I crazy? Okay, I'm probably jumping the gun. I'm sure a lot of people like them. But I don't understand. It's just beans, chicken, rice. It's just a basic bowl.
Still are a part of that food.
And it's like $15. It's insane.
Away from home stat that I provided from the Federal Reserve. And so we can still learn a lot about their recent financial performance over the years. Chipotle's net margin is higher now than ever before and has been steadily climbing since the pandemic.
That seems crazy.
However, the margins did tank before the pandemic due to foodborne illness issues the company was facing. But if we also look at their revenue and net income, that has also been rising steadily since the last quarter of 2020. And here's the kicker. Chipotle's former CEO, Brian Niccol, earned over $17 million in 2022 and over $22 million in 2023.
That's pretty
including
suspect.
Significant bonuses tied to the company's profitability.
It might be the case that these guys, I mean, like, he's making a very convincing argument, to be honest. Like, it might be the case that they know that people are going out more, so they're just reasonably doing whatever the fuck they want with their prices. I mean, it would make sense because some of this is just so insane. There's no reason. The problem is it's taking advantage of people because I feel like we have a lot less time. People are working more. And there's not as much people who can have time to spend time cooking at home. And yeah, you could put shit in a crock pot, but people have all, it's just, we've been kind of conditioned for everything to be like instantaneous. to some degree, I feel like. So maybe that's also a factor, and it's just them taking advantage of the market to some degree, maybe. That's pretty crazy.
1,300 times the median pay of a Chipotle worker. Now, whether you think the CEO is worth 1,300 times the average worker or not, it's clear that they are making more money now than ever before. And Chipotle also just announced in July that they were authorizing a $400 million stock buyback program, essentially funneling excess cash back to shareholders instead of, reinvesting it into operations or finding out ways to keep prices stable. Additionally, Yum Brands, which owns Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut, instituted price hikes in 2023 and cited that it was a last resort option, while later that year clocking in a 21% increase in total revenue
21%?
over its pre-pandemic earnings.
What the fuck? Now this is making me angry.
Now, since then, executives at the company...
They better add it. I need responses. McDonald's, eyes are on you, okay? Hire Grimace, come out in a good costume, explain this to me in hamburgers and fries. A graph chart made of them, okay? And then maybe I might forgive you, okay?
have authorized a $2 billion share repurchase program, returning $678 million to its shareholders. Now, there's no secret here that greater amounts of capital are being redirected to corporate-level costs, such as C-level executive compensation. Now, critics argue that inflation has become a convenient excuse for these price hikes. Yes, labor and ingredient costs are up, but why are executive salaries soaring at the same time? Why are companies increasing ad budgets and launching multi-million-dollar stock buybacks while citing higher costs as the reason for passing price increases onto consumers? Now, in some cases, the numbers suggest these companies are taking advantage of inflationary pressures to pad their profits. In fact, a recent analysis from the Economic Policy Institute found that corporate profits accounted for over 40% of price increases across several industries during...
Wait, a spike in profit margins contributed significantly to inflation in the early part of the pandemic recovery and likely contributed to even more persistent inflationary pressure by helping spur a countervailing rise in nominal wage growth. For example, rising profits explained well over 40% of the rise of price level between the end of 2019 and mid-2022 compared to profits normally accounting for 11 to 12 of the prices
during the pandemic recovery period.
Bro.
Now, while fast food isn't singled out...
This is robbery! I'm being robbed! Yeah, we gotta strike them. We gotta go down. We gotta steal Wendy's from Wendy's.
Now, while fast food isn't singled out in this analysis, it does seem to fit into this broader trend. This narrative has led to a huge disconnect from corporations to their consumers, particularly around their pricing and the value propositions they offer. But the interesting thing here is some of these companies are faring much better than others. Chipotle, for example, is continuing to grow in spite of their price hikes. And they also historically have...
Look at this shit. I'm crazy.
Am I crazy? Continuing to grow in spite
Look at this bowl. What is this? It's just lettuce, tomato, beans, rice, chicken. That's like $16 right here, okay? It's like 16. Why? It's not even that good. I'm going to be real with you guys. It's such a small bowl, too.
And they also historically haven't...
I go to any local burrito shop, and I would get 3 giant burritos for the price of this thing, okay? I'm telling you guys, I'm not crazy. Now, I haven't been to Chipotle in a little bit, so I might be skewing the prices. But regardless, I know it's expensive, and you can at least get 2 burritos for the price of that.
Offered any sort of value meal
to any Mexican shop around you, okay? Anyone.
While restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, and others are all trying to entice customers by trying to add more value deals to their menus. But of course, fast food chains have their side of the story too. They argued that these price hikes are a necessity, not some evil choice. And their executives have pointed to some real pressures. Rising wages, volatile supply chains, and of course...
That's what I'm saying. I'm really curious about this. Because like I was saying, the the cost for hiring people has gone up with the minimum wage, and even like some positions that were much less back in the day are way more expensive to keep on hand.
Inflation
So
as reasons why
I'm really
fast
curious on
food
this
just
part.
isn't as cheap as it used to be. Now, back in May of 2024, social media posts about an $18 Big Mac meal went so viral that McDonald's actually had to begin a campaign trying to debunk some of the myths that were being spread about their prices. Remember this graph from earlier? Yeah, well, McDonald's disagrees with a lot of it. The nuance behind this is that while data on its own is rather objective, the way in which data can be presented often is very subjective, including this video here. However, in their blog post, McDonald's cited bits of information from the article labeling them as myths, like, quote, McDonald's raised prices at a rate nearly double the national rate of inflation. And over in their facts section, trying to combat this, they mentioned that over the last 5 years, prices have increased around 40% due to higher input costs such as salaries, food, and paper products. And while that may be very well true, the article cites McDonald's menu prices have doubled 100% since 2014 across popular items, the highest of any chain we analyzed. But okay, let's just assume McDonald's was confused on this, and they cited from 2019 on as opposed to what the article says, which is 2014. So what about another myth? Well, once again, McDonald's cites the article quoting, McDonald's medium fries have increased by 138% since 2019. But McDonald's claims the truth is the average price of a medium fry in 2019 was $2.29, and now in 2024, the average price is $3.29. Okay, well, the article actually says that the 138% increase is from 2014 to 2024, not...
Oh, dude, slimy McDonald's, man. Ronald, someone's got to keep an eye on this guy. Someone's got to watch this guy. He's slippery. Slippery Arnold, dude.
2019.
The fuck?
Now, I could go on.
I needed to look at that other. I didn't want to see this. A 10-piece in 2014 was $6. Now it's $10.99. These are astronomical. A quarter pounder, one of the worst offenders. Quarter pounder in 2014, $5.39 to $11.99. That's insane. When it's when it's a difference of $6, I would say it's the worst on this list, because the fries maybe get away with a dollar or two being added on there, which is like, okay, kind of shitty you guys are doing that, but whatever. It's $1, $2, $6 we're talking now. Now we're talking big boy numbers. This is insane. However, the fact that they're lying or being misrepresenting what was stated in the article is a little bit suspect.
14 to 2024, not 2019. Now, I could go on, but I think you're starting to get the point. Okay, but there are some who argue that rising wages are really the one to blame for high menu prices, claiming this trend of increased minimum wage could lead to job losses and widespread restaurant closures. However, the evidence suggests otherwise. Economists at the Economic Policy Institute have extensively researched
this guy's really going hard on McDonald's. There's other fast food places. Dude, he is just... Maybe he got the Hamburglar stole his Big Mac as a kid, man. Jesus.
Issue, and found that higher wages would likely have the opposite effect, modestly stimulating consumer demand, boosting...
I'm just joking. Obviously, McDonald's would be the one you'd want to do this on, because it's like one of the biggest indicators at 100% increase.
Business activity and creating job growth. Okay, but what about fast food prices? Are they rising because of higher wages? Well, yes, but not entirely for the reasons you might think. Price increases in the fast food industry are part of a long-standing trend, not a sudden phenomenon caused by wage hikes. Because while the consumer price index for all items rose by 3.2% between April 2022 and April 2023, fast food prices surged 5.2%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Meanwhile, the cost of groceries increased by only 1% during that time.
Oh my God.
But that was then, and this is now, and fast food has been getting desperate over the last year. McDonald's has had to really try to entice customers with their nationwide $5 value meal, and many competitors have followed suit. Burger King offered their $5 meal, Wendy's did a $4 meal deal, and Taco Bell launched a $3 value deal, all in an attempt to increase traffic to their stores. Now, it's clear they have a real problem on their hands, not only in terms of general sentiment around their value propositions, but also in regards to pricing. But fast food companies also have to reckon with fast casual offerings eating away at their market share. Chipotle, Cava, and Sweetgreen have all reported a much different outlook on this matter. And while yes, they typically attract a higher income cohort, it's not only them that are buying these products. Cava, the Mediterranean chain, only raised prices 12% from 2019 to 2023. And as a result, they reported increases to their top and bottom lines.
Yeah.
Now, of course, they have a much smaller footprint than McDonald's, but when that Big Mac is contesting the prices of some of these fast casual offerings, it seems like an inevitable shift is bound to occur here. And even casual sit-down restaurants like Applebee's and Chili's are getting involved into this value war. Chili's 3 for Me meal deal for $10.99 has created a resurgence in traffic to their restaurants, resulting in their foot traffic soaring 33%, which capped off 6 straight months of increases. So are the higher prices just the costs of doing business? I don't see how one could come to that conclusion with how much profits have increased over the last 5 years for most of these chains. To me, this does seem like some good old-fashioned corporate greed, masked in layers of manipulation and excuses. And now for fast food places like McDonald's, Burger King, and others, customers not only have to battle with higher prices, but also with the lack of convenience and quality of the food itself. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, infinite growth is the goal. And the fiduciary duty to shareholders comes before customers, employees, suppliers, or vendors. But it is really interesting to see how some companies simply choose to operate differently while still achieving success. If you want to learn about a prime example, I covered the story of Costco and the interesting approach they've taken to capitalism. You can learn about it here. Thanks so much for watching.
I mean, it's interesting, but again, we don't really know all the back ends. There could be a lot of things that aren't really accounted for. Yes, they did kind of misrepresent some of the article from what we were saying, what he was stating there. But even again, there could, if you look further into that, who knows the reasoning behind that? Maybe there was. We just don't have a lot of the facts on the matter, and economics for like a fast food chain like McDonald's is gigantic and complex and would probably melt a layman's brain with who has no knowledge on finance anyways. But yeah, there's just a lot that goes into it. I'm not so sure about this 100%, but he did raise some good questions. I actually did like this, and it could be very well be corporate greed. It does seem like that could be the outcome. But again, hopefully you guys can school me on something, but or found this kind of funny or interesting. Anyways, you guys have a good night. Take it easy. Bye.